Hey friends, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you wherever you are in the world. So today I would like to comment on an article that just came out on Cancer Research UK's science blog called Alternative Therapies, What's the Harm? Now it's funny they would call it this because obviously this is going to be a post dogging alternative therapies. And I had to laugh because the first thing I thought when I read the headline was, you should write one called Conventional Therapies, What's the Harm? But that would be a very long post, wouldn't it? Okay, so I'm going to read some of this to you and I'm going to comment because there's so much good stuff in here to talk about. So here it is. We often see stories in the media about cancer patients who have chosen alternative therapies either alongside or instead of conventional treatment. Every cancer patient has the right to decide what, if any, line of treatment they wish to pursue, but we believe it's vital that people make fully informed decisions based on genuine evidence about the risks and benefits of any therapy, whether alternative, complementary, or conventional, in discussion with their doctor. Now, first off the bat, the vast majority of cancer patients are not informed at all. They have no idea what treatments are going to do to their body. They have no idea of the potential brain damage, liver damage, lung damage, kidney damage, secondary infections, destroying their bone marrow, peripheral neuropathy, in very rare cases, losing their fingerprints. So the assumption that conventional cancer patients are informed and those who are choosing alternatives are not is ridiculous, and it just shows how out of touch Cancer Research UK is. Natural is better. One of the big selling points of advocates of alternative therapies use is to claim that conventional treatments are toxic, while their favored treatment is natural, implying that natural is somehow better. This is a fallacy we previously explored in detail in our post about that infamous herb cannabis. Many treatments for cancer and other diseases were originally derived from naturally occurring substances. The chemotherapy drug Taxol, created from a compound found in yew leaves, is a prime example. Conversely, some of the most poisonous substances in the world, ricin, cyanide, arsenic, hemlock, snake venoms, and mercury, to name but a few, are all entirely natural. Furthermore, alternative natural therapies are not guaranteed to be safe. Examples include a serious risk of cyanide poisoning from Laetrile, permanent scarring or disfigurement from cancer sabs, and bowel damage, blood salt imbalances, and even life-threatening septicemia caused by coffee enemas. Where do I start? Okay, first of all, this is a straw man argument. No one is saying that natural means it's non-toxic. When people talk about natural therapies, they're actually implying natural and non-toxic therapies. That is what people mean when they say natural therapies, okay? It's an abbreviation for natural, non-toxic therapies. So yes, you're right. Sure, there's plenty of toxins in nature. Nature is full of toxins. But choosing a natural non-toxic therapy instead of chemo, that's why people do it. They don't want chemo because it is highly toxic, okay? So that's point number one. Point number two is cyanide poisoning and Laetrile. Really? Have you spent any time researching Laetrile and reading testimonials from people that take Laetrile and learning from integrative physicians all over the world, MDs, who use Laetrile in their practices? Not a risk. Permanent scarring from cancer salves. Yeah, black salve is toxic. It will remove a tumor from the body, a surface tumor. But yeah, it's an escharotic. I mean, yeah, it's gonna burn through your skin, right? And then big risk of bowel damage and stuff by coffee enemas. That risk is so rare. The risk you have with a coffee enema is if you jam it in really hard, yeah, you could perforate your colon. But that's it. So if you're doing coffee enemas, don't jam it in there. Be gentle. So, but let's take the focus off of how incredibly destructive and toxic chemotherapy, surgery, and radiation are and scare people away from coffee enemas, because that's a real threat. That other stuff, totally safe. Okay, back to the article. But it works. I read it in the news. Stories in the news about alternative therapies are usually framed in words of a patient talking about their own cancer journey, but this is neither scientific proof nor any kind of guarantee that a treatment is effective or safe. Well, guess what? Where does all research come from? Where did all research start? It starts with case studies. Case studies are the basis for almost every scientific and medical discovery in history. So it starts with people or doctors who have experienced healing. And then they were courageous enough to say, wait a minute, what did we do? Why did this patient get well? Can we reproduce this, right? But the cancer industry is not interested in that. They're interested in using the therapies they have, the therapies that have cost millions and millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, to get drug approval and then make the pharmaceutical company billions of dollars. And they're not interested in any therapies that are natural and non-toxic and cannot be patented. News reports may provide incorrect or confusing medical information, such as misreporting the type and stage of disease of the true chances of survival, and failing to point out any conventional treatments that were used alongside before seeking alternative therapy. In some cases, this may be the result of accidental omissions or errors, especially if a reporter is only relying on the patient themselves as the source of their story. Cancer is a complex disease, and without access to detailed medical records, which are confidential, it's impossible to paint a fully accurate picture of an individual's cancer journey and whether alternative therapies played a new role in their recovery. More worryingly, there are some cases where evidence points towards a murkier interpretation of truth and fact. For example, Australian blogger Belle Gibson built a large media profile and business around the story of apparently having healed herself of a brain tumor through diet and lifestyle changes, but has now admitted she never had cancer at all. See, this logic is important because if one person lied about having cancer, that means everybody's lying. People pushing alternative therapies frequently wheel out stories from survivors who are apparently alive due to their treatments, yet without providing solid evidence to prove it's true. What is solid evidence? Is life and health solid evidence? Apparently not. Not solid enough. This raises false hope and unrealistic expectations that there's a hidden miracle cure that can be unlocked for the right price or by eating exactly the right foods. Yeah, okay, that's not what we're doing here. So if you go to chrisbeatcancer.com, you're going to find interviews with dozens and dozens and dozens of people that have healed their cancer. It's not a miracle cure. We're not selling anything. It's people sharing their experience and their success getting well. It's that simple. It's people who've gotten well. You can choose to ignore it. That's fine. You can try to poke holes in it. Go ahead. But at the end of the day, what we're looking at is cancer taking over as the leading killer. It's surpassing heart disease in the US. It's very close. It's already the #1 killer in the world. So the conventional cancer treatment industry is by and large failing to cure cancer. So why are you surprised that people are looking at other options, that people are trying to restore their health and get well and change their diet and lifestyle? Because we know that diet and lifestyle factors are major causes of cancer. And when you address the cause, you give your body the opportunity to heal. So it's not about a miracle cure, it's about healing. Patients and their loved ones may feel guilty or angry for not trying everything they possibly could have done, despite there being no evidence that such treatments would help. Again, case studies and anecdotal evidence and empirical evidence is evidence. Stories of people healing themselves through diet or other therapies make good headlines. However, if the same person dies from their cancer, it often goes unreported, leaving readers with the misconception that the alternative treatment was a success. Sure, that's possible. Understandably, there may be a huge reluctance among family members to admit the alternative therapy failed, especially if it came at a high cost or reduced quality of life. Yeah. Have you taken a minute to examine the cost of cancer treatment, conventional cancer treatment? Have you actually looked at the quality of life of someone who's being poisoned and radiated and in and out of the hospital for secondary infections? This is a ridiculous statement. Quality of life among people who radically change their diet and lifestyle and try to heal is infinitely better than those who subject themselves to poison and brutal therapies and get an extra month of life or 2 months or 3 months being sick in bed. That's not improved quality of life. That's living hell. The problem of not admitting that alternative treatments failed goes all the way back to a paper dated in 1911. I don't even know why this is important. It reveals how an alternative cancer curer continued to reassure a husband that his wife was recovering after she had actually died. Now, that's terrible. That's terrible. But why would you use that example as if that's what's happening all the time? Her husband and friends were ashamed of having been duped and kept quiet, while the quack went unpunished. Yeah, okay. I don't understand the point you're trying to make. You're trying to paint every cancer patient in that situation, every alternative integrative MD as treating patients that way. It's just, that doesn't hold any water. Where's the evidence? Next paragraph. Do you know what they call alternative medicine that's been proved to work? Medicine. Oh, good one. No, that's actually not the way it works, because alternative therapies are alternative because nutrition cannot be patented. There's no money in nutrition. There never will be. No company is going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in the U.S. to get FDA stage 3, phase 3 clinical trials to prove that a nutritional intervention, a nutritional approach using natural non-toxic therapies is successful. It's too expensive. No one's going to fund it. So the really pretty weak argument that we have no evidence that these therapies work. You have no evidence that they don't work. That's what people don't understand. There's no evidence proving they don't work because they've never been tested with clinical trial standards against chemotherapy drugs. So yeah, nice try. Sadly, when a doctor recommends a course of treatment, their decision is based on the best available information about the chances of saving or prolonging a patient's life, along with any risks and benefits. No, they don't. They don't cover any of that stuff. You meet with a doctor for 15 minutes, there's no way you could have the complete picture of what you're going to expect as a cancer patient. Absolutely no way. And doctors often give you very little tidbits of information. They don't give you the whole truth. And frankly, they don't even know what's going to happen. They don't know if you're even going to respond to the treatments they're recommending. They have no idea. They think you might, but they really don't know. And if you ask an oncologist, is this going to shrink my tumor, yes or no? They'll say, we don't know. Sadly, we know that in too many cases, even the best treatments can fail. Thanks for admitting that, which is why we're continually researching more effective ways to diagnose and treat cancer. Even so, the treatments we have today, including surgery, radiotherapy, and chemotherapy, have helped to double cancer survival rates since the 1970s. Listen, survival rates is not cure. If you spend any time looking at survival statistics, they're extremely misleading. I made another video about it. I'll link to it. Again, notice they're not saying they've cured cancer. Their patients are living longer with cancer, mostly because they're being diagnosed earlier. There are a few treatments that have had exceptional results, and that's lymphomas, childhood leukemia. Those survival rates are 90%, people living 10 years or more. Okay, great, terrific. But when we're talking about solid tumor cancers, epithelial cancers, the survival rates and death rate, the death rate has improved about 5% in 50 years. I mean, it's pretty sad. So that's colon cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, ovarian, uterine cancer, all those cancers, brain cancer, very, very little progress in not only their survival, but in the death rate, which is the most important thing. So yeah, it's great that people are living a little longer, but they're still dying. And ultimately, we want to get well. And therapies that shrink a tumor temporarily, that's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And the industry measures their success by tumor shrinkage. They don't even measure success by curing people. We understand that people want to hang on to a glimmer of hope that they or their loved one can be cured, particularly when facing a terminal cancer diagnosis. But despite what alternative therapists may claim, they do not have any evidence to support the effectiveness of the treatments they offer, yet they do normally stand to make money, many thousands of pounds in some cases, from selling ineffective treatments and advice. Oh, that's right, and conventional doctors do it for free. Come on. Yeah, yes, integrative doctors, nutritionists, naturopaths, yes, they make money doing what they do. Everyone has to make money. Everyone has to work. I already covered this. They don't have any evidence to support. Now, the evidence they have is case studies people that have gotten well. That's the evidence they have. You can ignore it. That's fine. You're right. They're not going to have phase 3 clinical trial evidence. It's way too expensive. The average small integrative MD does not have hundreds of millions of dollars to take their patients through something like that. Brzezinski is actually about to do it, though, so good for him. Of course, pharmaceutical companies stand to make money from cancer treatments, too. Oh, great, we admitted that. But you forgot to mention the doctors, so let's not forget them. And we've written about this at length. But they must provide evidence of the effectiveness, safety, and side effects of their treatments through lab research and clinical trials. Yeah, and guess who's providing that evidence? The pharmaceutical industry is providing their own evidence of safety and effectiveness. They're not even reviewed by independent analysis. So they're conducting their own trials, and their own people are basically twisting data to get drugs approved, and then they introduce the drugs, and then what happens? Look at Avastin. It was recalled for use in breast cancer because it was not working and it was causing extreme harm in women. That's one of many examples. This information is assessed by doctors and healthcare providers when deciding whether treatment should be made available for patients. Blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, that's not exactly what's happening. Pharmaceutical companies are doing their own research. They're incredibly biased. They want the drug to get approval because it means billions and billions of dollars. And guess what? It costs over $1 billion on average to get a drug approved. $1.3 billion. That's insane, right? We have extensive information outlining the scientific evidence or lack of it for a wide range of alternative and complementary therapies. You're right. There's a huge lack of scientific evidence because it hasn't been studied. If there was good evidence that alternative treatments work, then they should stand up alongside conventional treatments. Great. How about we fund a multi-$100 million study? Will someone step up and do this? Please, do it. Somebody step up, fund the studies. We're ready. But the truth is that they don't. So again, it's just the same argument. There's no evidence. Well, there hasn't been any good studies. Well, there's no evidence. Well, there hasn't been any good studies. In addition, the potential cost to patients of placing their hopes in alternative treatments go beyond financial ones. Yeah, how much hope are they placing in conventional therapies when you over and over and over they fail? Patients are dying. Cancer is the #1 cause of death worldwide. Conventional treatment is failing over and over and over again. Why do alternative therapies get a bad rap? Because after conventional treatments fail, that's when most patients try something alternative, okay? After conventional treatment has failed them. But yet the alternative therapy gets blamed. Okay. And by the way, what does alternative therapy mean? It can mean anything. It's such a broad and vague term. One person can go eat dirt, and the other person can juice vegetables. They're both doing alternative therapies. The person eating dirt dies. The person juicing vegetables lives, right? Which one worked? Well, they're both alternative therapies. So you can't just lump them all in one category. The hidden costs. One of the biggest risks of seeking alternative therapy is postponing or declining evidence-based conventional treatment, which might otherwise prolong or save a patient's life. Yeah, saving their life, pretty unlikely, unless they have lymphomas or childhood leukemia, pretty unlikely, or maybe if they're stage 1. Perhaps the most famous example is Steve Jobs. Oh, here we go, trotting out the old Steve Jobs argument. Steve Jobs had a neuroendocrine tumor in his pancreas. He refused conventional therapies for a while. He tried some alternative therapies, which they say here, such as acupuncture and juicing. We really don't know what he did. We really don't know. And the fact is, you can't throw all alternative, natural, non-toxic treatments out the window because they didn't work for one guy. If Steve Jobs is proof that alternative therapies don't work, then 500,000 Americans that die every year of cancer after conventional therapies fail is most certainly proof those don't work. By the time Steve finally agreed to surgery, his cancer had spread and was untreatable. There's no way of knowing if delaying cancer treatment made a difference to his ultimate outcome. Exactly. No way of knowing. But it's a decision he reportedly regretted. And guess what? Maybe he did regret it. Maybe the doctor said, if you'd done this sooner, you'd still be alive. And maybe he believed them. But they don't know that for sure. So his regret does not mean that he had would have survived or lived if he had done conventional therapies first. He had a major killer cancer. The cure rate is almost zero, okay? So, and he lived a long time with it, a very, very long time. And his health really didn't spiral down. I mean, his health took a nosedive after he did the Whipple procedure. After he agreed to surgery, bam, nosedive. And he died very shortly after that. So, the Steve Jobs argument is so weak. Then there could be the issue of pursuing unproven I can't talk. Then there is the issue of pursuing unproven alternative treatments overseas. Traveling abroad could be risky if a patient is unwell. Seriously? You're worried about somebody traveling? You know what's risky? Chemo. It's toxic poison. It poisons you head to toe, okay? Traveling, not so much. Not so much of a risk. Another risk, see, now we're just like resorting to just the most petty, pathetic scare tactics. Another risk is that patients choosing to use alternative therapies may miss out on opportunities for palliative care. Oh, yes, what an opportunity that is. Here's some pain meds, okay? Palliative care. Here's some chemo to maybe shrink your tumor a little bit. You know what's crazy? There was a study recently that showed that most of these cancer patients surveyed, I'll put a link to this, didn't even know that they were getting palliative care. They thought they were getting curative treatments that had a chance of curing their cancer, and they weren't. The doctors didn't even tell them they were giving them palliative treatments. So that's how much dishonesty and withholding of information is routinely happening in the cancer treatment world. Patients don't even know what kind of therapy they're getting. And this says palliative therapies can make a big difference to quality of life in the end stages of cancer. Pain medicine? Yeah, sure. If you have pain, great. Take some pain pills. Whether you love or loathe the concept of the bucket list, pursuing unproven alternative treatments, particularly abroad and involving arduous and restrictive regimes, robs people of valuable time that they could spend with family and friends. We are bordering on the most ridiculous statement in the whole article. Arduous treatment? Juicing all day is arduous? Coffee enemas are arduous? Changing your life is arduous? Exercise is arduous? Poison, being sick in bed, throwing up, losing your hair, having surgery, having radiation therapy, in and out of the hospital for secondary infections, bone marrow transplants, that's arduous. Juicing, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, not so much, okay? And you talking about robbing people of valuable time? Being sick in bed, poisoned, robs people of valuable time. They're not spending quality time with family and friends, being sick and throwing up over a toilet, okay? Let's be honest. Making informed choices. We're continually looking at the evidence behind all kinds of cancer treatments, whether conventional, alternative, or complementary, providing extensive information about them on our website. And we're working as hard as we can to develop more effective, kinder treatments. That's great. That's great. Kinder. Bringing more tomorrows for patients and their families. Oh my gosh. We would like to encourage everyone to ask for the evidence behind claims being made for miracle cures and consider whether it's scientifically robust and convincing. And hey, you want to talk about robust science? There are thousands and thousands of studies on the anti-cancer power of nutrition, on anti-cancer compounds in fruits and vegetables and herbs. The medical scientific literature is chock full of these studies. And what happens is researchers look at turmeric. Just one example. Look at curcumin and turmeric. Arguably the most powerful anti-cancer compound from a natural source that we know of that addresses more cancer targets than any drug out there, and yet it's not used in conventional treatment. And look up Dr. Bharat Agarwal at MD Anderson. He is arguably the world's foremost expert on curcumin, has studied it extensively, published a lot of papers about it, and many other doctors, scientists, researchers have as well. And yet it's not used. Why? There's no money in it. There is no money. And the pharmaceutical industry has been monkeying with curcumin for years, trying to change the molecular structure and create something they can patent. But because they haven't been able to do that, it hasn't been used in conventional cancer therapy. And yet you can get curcumin from the turmeric root. You just eat turmeric, loads and loads of turmeric. That's one of the things I did, part of my healing strategy, part of my anti-cancer diet. So let's not pretend there isn't a bunch of science about anti-cancer nutrition, because there is. There's tons of it. The only thing missing is there aren't any clinical trials using a nutritional protocol. Okay, big difference. Tons of science, no trials. I will tell you about one thing though. The Spontaneous Remission Project is a collection of 1,000 case studies of cancer patients who had spontaneous remission. That means their cancer was there, they didn't do conventional treatment, and then poof, it was gone. What happened? Well, unfortunately for the Spontaneous Remission Project, the doctors didn't investigate and ask the patients what they did, but they did document that they spontaneously remissed. Okay? So there's actually a ton of evidence out there that cancer can be healed. Spontaneous remission is healing. That's what it means. Healing cancer. The body created it. The body can heal it. But you have to identify the causes. You have to change your whole life. And there's no guarantee you'll get well. But there are very, very few guarantees in conventional treatment. And it's so brutal and destructive. Everyone watching this knows multiple people who've been diagnosed, treated, and died of cancer. So as much as the cancer industry is trying to fight the movement of nutrition and natural non-toxic therapies to get well, to heal, you can't stop it. You put out all the propaganda you want. This movement is exploding, and the tipping point is coming. And there's a whole new generation of doctors and practitioners who are nutritionally minded and who are looking at the current status quo, at this current system, and saying, this doesn't work. And why in the world is the cancer industry spending so much money on immunotherapy research? Because chemo sucks. It doesn't work. It doesn't cure cancer. Yeah, it can shrink a tumor temporarily, but then it comes back more aggressive, and it kills the patient faster. So, a sad attempt. I mean, hey, look, it's a good attempt. What? Sad, but I commend you, because you really spent a lot of time trying to create more propaganda to put fear in the minds of people who are trying to get well and trying to heal and trying to do something that actually has the chance to heal them versus something that has a very slim chance of recovery. Because, chemotherapy and radiation surgery, they don't heal the body. They destroy the body. They're destructive. Your body has to heal after that. So you're making yourself worse and sicker and hoping your body will heal after doing more damage to it. So, friends, think about these things. Don't just believe the cancer industry hype. Don't believe their scare tactics. Go to Chris Beat Cancer. Watch the interviews with people who've healed. Listen to their stories. Listen to what they did. And guess what? All those people have done different things, but there are certainly common threads that exist throughout all of these healing stories. And that is a radical change of diet and lifestyle, abandoning processed food, stopping destructive lifestyle behaviors, taking control of your life, changing your attitude, forgiving people who've hurt you. It's a total life change. That's what it requires. And so listen, we can learn from the experience of others. You don't need a hundreds of $1 million, $1 billion clinical trial to learn the truth, to learn from somebody who got well, right? So take your life into your own hands, be courageous, read, research, and I look forward to sharing more stories. They're coming every week, so they can't be stopped. Please share this video, like it, share it, subscribe to my channel, and we'll keep spreading the word about the power of nutrition and natural therapies to promote health and healing in the body. See ya!